Hello and welcome to the third Scrolls Talks, where we will be discussing the things that's been going on from the 12th of January until today, more or less. With me today, I have the Overlord.
That be me.
Yeah,
Oh,
he is a well-known Order player and general Scrolls community contributor, pretty much. And yeah, do you have any other words?
no, you flatter me. I, I guess, I guess that's what I am, at least sometimes.
Yes, and also a prominent Bajorati member.
Indeed, but
And yeah,
keep it a secret.
I think everyone knows at this point. But we're not here to talk about the Bajorati or the Overlord's accomplishments. So let me just go through the topics of this Scrolls Talk. We'll be going over the weekly roundup and we'll briefly discuss some competitive matters. And finally, we will be looking over the Scrolls contest submissions. We'll show off our own top 4 scrolls. Actually, we'll just show up our own scrolls. They aren't really the top ones that we have made. And we also made 4 picks of scrolls that we really like that you guys have submitted. So first of all, yeah.
I'm also apparently quite quiet. You think you can somehow turn me up, or shall I start to scream a bit?
Don't worry, I've boosted your volume a little bit. Fortunately, nothing of value has been said just yet. Alright, so chat, can you let us know if the Overlord is the Lauda Lord?
Testing sound! That was my testing sound.
While they look into that, I'll jump into the first topic, and it's what's been going on Reddit lately. So, for the first time in like a month or so, the unofficial weekly contest is back. And
everyone
this one.
rejoiced.
Everyone rejoiced. And the topic for that contest was joke cards.
I'm not sure what you meant with that.
Well, the thing is, I'm not picking these themes. It's the winner of the previous contest that is picking the themes.
And they were like, make a joke.
I suppose. They're probably thinking of stuff like Unglued and what's it called? There's this stuff in Magic the Gathering. They release these sets that aren't serious. But they're actual cards, I think, that you can purchase. And they have really wacky effects.
So like we are talking about a bunny.
I suppose, yeah. Imagine like a set with a bunch of bunnies and quacks and things like that.
We need some bountiful harvests.
Yes, that's a good joke card. I suppose the guild Rats and Bunnies would excel in this contest, because all they play with are joke cards. More or less. I'm not being mean. Bunnies just suck. Other than that, we've had the weekly scroll discussion cover Rumble. Is that a scroll you're familiar with, the Overlord?
Oh, we had for Rumble?
Oh yeah.
I think I either missed or I just forgot I was. That's how interested I probably were. And Rumble, well, what is it to say about it? It's RNG, but the only thing Grove has going for it to deal with invincible blockers.
Yeah, that is kind of. It's like a card you run out of necessity. I think if there was another way of dealing with blockers, they probably wouldn't run Rumble.
Yeah, it's like if Growth received even a single thing that could deal with a heavy blocker, they would probably put this out of their deck immediately.
Yeah, they probably would. And other than that, there's also, of course, been a weekly creative corner by me. And I designed a trait in it. that some of you guys might find interesting or not. And I also put down a little guide on how to create a trait.
I think you design traits in your sleep, man.
I might do that. But yeah, other than that, I don't really think much has gone down on the Reddit.
You know, people who actually, I'm not sure which ones to do that, but I think there might be one guy who watch a VOD and they can't read chat. So what was that trait about?
Basically, the trait was called Backlash,
Oh yeah,
and the
that.
way the trait works is that a scroll that has Backlash can be paid for if you don't actually have the resources for the scroll. So if you have a 6-cost order structure and that has Backlash, you can, with 3 current order, play that structure. And then the Backlash value would be 3, right? So the way
Yes.
this works is that the Backlash value would have something negative associated with it. So for our hypothetical structure, it could be reduce this structure's health by the Backlash value. So if it starts out at 6 health, and you play this at 3 current order, you end up with a Backlash value of 3, and that reduces the health down to 3. So in a way, you can use it as a surge trait, but with a cap on the top of it. Because with surge, you can just go infinitely up. If you have something that is get plus X health, you can play it at 10 order and get something with 10 health. Or 9 health, actually, if it's 1 costed.
Yeah, I think we got the idea for it.
And that's pretty much. If you're interested, I've posted in the chat, and if you're someone watching this from the future, Google Backlash, Squiddy, and Scrolls, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it.
Google, I'm pretty sure you can just search on Reddit. Just do. Well, what was your.
Backlash, Squiddy. I'm doing this search now. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean, you
that
don't
works.
have to Google this stuff.
But yeah, other than that, I think Ghostbomb did a little survey.
Oh yeah.
He looked into like people's favorite factions. What else was it? Let's see. Right here are the results.
It was. I was planning to do the survey, but I didn't because I found the questions very very weird. It's like, which faction do you find the strongest? I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't see it black and white like that. So I leave this to others.
Well, here's a couple of the questions. So, which resource is your favorite? That's pretty simple.
Yeah, that was simple enough. But later on, it became a bit like I want a fifth option here.
For those who are curious, decay is the most popular resource, and then growth, order, energy just vary by like 1 or 2 responses. People thought that growth and order are the most powerful resources, and decay is the runt of the group. And people think that growth has the best enchantment. And that's not really a question, that is factual, in my opinion. But finally, for the weekly roundup, we have a recent thing, the Humble Bundle TCG. The TCG that... Wait, where is it?
Humble bundle, rumble.
The Humble Card Game Bundle is what it's called. And it's available for 13 days and 20 hours.
Indeed.
You get scrolls if you pay whatever you want. You get Soulforge, Dinosaur Starter Pack. You get the full version of Star Realms. And you also get Talisman Digital Edition with 2 DLCs. If you beat the average price, you get Magic 2015 Duels of the Planeswalker, which is a special edition, and you get Garruk's Revenge. You also get Dominion Online, Seaside Complete, and you get a couple of more starter packs for Soulforge. And here's the interesting thing to a lot of Scroll people, I imagine. If you pay at least $12, you get the Scroll Deluxe Edition, and that gives you 2 exclusive Caller outfits. And you also get 2 of the Waypoint designer decks. I believe it's the Longnose Brigade, which is the Energy Gravelock deck, and it's a Way of the Night Order deck.
I already bought those packs. Damn it! I should have.
I believe that Atlas has confirmed that you'll get those decks again.
That's weird.
So you get another 100 scrolls.
Wait, actually, how can you get it again? When you buy this, you should get a. Don't you get like a different account?
No. You get 2 codes that you put into your account. So one of the codes is for avatars. And I believe the other one is for the decks.
Sweet.
So I'm gonna buy this, get my sweet deluxe avatars.
Yeah, so I said pre-podcast. I want this just for the avatar, and I want that Planeswalker game.
Yeah, they are. I like them. They're pretty cool. And that's really it for the weekly roundup. Next up, in the competitive corner, we are going to be discussing competitive stuff. Primarily the ESL tournament coming up next week. I mean, this Sunday, actually. Is it this Sunday?
Yes, it's every Sunday.
Okay, I wasn't sure. And I'm not going to be streaming it because I don't like streaming ESL, but hopefully someone will.
Hopefully.
And the rules are as follows. You must use Scrolls cards that are growth.
Yeah, I was about to wake
Yeah,
up.
that's a little flub on my part.
Okay. Yeah, it's growth, right? This time around.
Yeah.
That's the only one left before Highlander.
So it will be interesting because you can probably go pretty competitively against a Gaggro deck if you have a late game deck with a bunch of Quakes. At least that is my feeling.
Well, my feeling, if I remember from last time, it's probably going to be something similar again. It was kind of. The good thing was that the tournament was pretty short.
Oh yes, I remember that one.
The bad thing is that a lot of the games were like, okay, who snowballed first?
Yeah, I actually played in that tournament and ended up in 3rd place. And basically it revolved around buffing up your Mega Wildling. Because this was before the Wildling nerf. So you could do a lot of crazy things with it and get it up to 10 attack, 12 attack. And it wasn't very fun. But I don't think that would be as viable now that they have nerfed this Wildling a little bit by giving it pure damage.
Yeah. No, it's probably not as viable, at least. I'm not sure what is the best way to snowball in the mirror. I leave that to the growth expert. Surprisingly, as much as people like to be like, "Oh, growth is so easy to play," it's probably easy to play, but I am really bad at it.
I'm also kind of bad at it. It's just, I guess if you don't get the momentum, sure you can restart on a different lane, but if you're playing against another aggro growth player and they have managed to do everything right in the first couple of turns, there's no coming back, really.
It's more that in my opinion, my issue is that they got so many cards that fulfill so many roles, and I have not learned even half of those roles. I don't really get when you're supposed to use what card. Like, what decks are supposed to have Sister of the Fox, what decks are not supposed to have Sister of the Fox, and so on.
Well, Sister of the Fox, I think, is just for late game growth decks. I haven't seen a single one in Gaggro.
Yeah, I sort of came to that conclusion later on, but before
I find something like Earthenmurf hard to use. Because I'm like, okay, so I have this thing now. Shouldn't I put in that Gravelock human person, Gravehawk? Because, I mean, yeah, she has a Relentless. That's pretty neat, isn't it? But then I end up like with no room in my deck because I need to put in the Relentless Bear, I need to put in the Great Wolf. But do I have to put in the Great Wolf? And if I put in the Great Wolf, I have to put in Manji Wolves. And should I then put in Brother of the Wolves? So it just all kind of escalates.
Well, I unfortunately have no answers for you. I'm a bit as clueless as you.
Well, I'm just gonna have to give it my best, and It'll be interesting to watch even if you lose, because it won't
I'm
be as long as the previous tournaments.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna admin this. It's how I've been planning on. By the
Yeah.
way, if for anyone that might be watching, I've been bad at updating points, but it is as we said at the very start. We count in the points for all of these all stars, and then the one with the most points from all the all stars, they win the rewards that will be given at the end of the all stars.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, I think you get the top 4 players. You get like an avatar head,
Yes, that's correct.
and every winner in these tournaments will get a bunch of gold.
Yes.
And there's also a Highlander tournament after the growth one,
Mm-hmm.
which I think will be quite fun.
Uh,
Because I mean, it's in a way, it's
it's the only tournament that Purple Pansy has received a medal from.
yeah, like it kind of evens the playing field. Like anyone could win it, honestly. You
This
could
is his home turf.
you could be a complete scrub, like awful player, terrible noob, or be pansy, and you can still win the thing. Like there's nothing stopping you from going in, even if you have just a week's experience in the game.
That's some serious gray zone on shots fired you tread on there.
It's kind of true.
Like you can be so seriously awful bad player or also a pansy. Like not saying they are the same thing. Just saying it's
No, Pansy's a decent player. He's a decent player.
he's definitely above the average.
He just plays a lot of awful decks. I
Yeah,
think that's his problem.
I'm not so sure. I would also say he's actually a very what is good about him when it comes to competitive. He's a very open-minded guy, unlike many competitive players.
That is true.
Not everyone is so open-minded. He was one of the first that were like, dude, you can do a wildling combo before the wildling combo became a thing. But
Oh yeah,
he like
I
many
think he
others
also
were
did the Pillar Nur things, and he also liked those Puppet Soldier Horn of Ages combos.
Yeah, probably. So I'm just saying the guy is open-minded. It's just that he often he's not master of the deck builder.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Deck building is very important. Like there's a mild difference between a good player, a really great player, playing an excellent deck, or like an average middling deck. Like your results will really, be affected by how good your deck is, and if you're playing the right deck at the right time, and so on.
Indeed.
So
Right,
yeah,
shall we move on?
that will wrap it up for the competitive corner, and we will move into the creative corner, where today we'll be showing off our own cards that we have made, and then our top 4 picks that you guys have submitted. So we are going to start off. I suppose I'll just turn off the cameras at this point.
Alright.
Go!
Goodbye, everyone.
Oh, they didn't see you, unfortunately.
Well, they heard me.
So here we go. And I'll shut down your camera as well. Actually, go ahead and shut down your camera, because that will help my upload speed, I think. I mean, download speed.
Okay. I'm not sure if I can. Let's see. There. It's been shut down. Okay, I see. We're going through. Just gonna skim over your cards first here.
I can explain them though. So first of all, we have Surgeomancy. It's a 1 energy spell. It has a Linger 4. When you play a spell with Surge, you gain current energy equal to the Surge value of the spell after casting. So are you clear on how that works?
Yes, I read it and understood it.
Excellent. You can go ahead and critique it. We're just gonna do one-sided critique for this segment.
Yeah, I was about to say we should take one scroll at a time here. Where did I put this thing now? There we go. Okay, for this one I felt I understand what you're doing with this, but I'm actually not a big fan. Like when it comes to it, I'm not gonna do something in depth. Like you can do all of these things with it because
Yeah.
It's just that it gives replenish to search. It's
Pretty
sort of
much.
what it do, which is a thing. It's very narrow, which is where I feel like this is definitely one of those where people could call a power creep card. Like the more search we get to the game, the more powerful this is. How powerful it is right now, I'm not sure. Uh, so I don't find anything actually fascinating or special with this card,
That's fine.
honestly.
I mean, when you think about it, generally this would work best with a one-cost search spell, because then it becomes like a replenish. On something like Sudden Eruption, which is 4 energy, you're not gonna get that much energy back from it. So this
Yeah,
is a way that I thought you could encourage the play of these cheap lingering spells, like Vicious Strike, which isn't really that played, because you can then play it, and it just becomes a really good attack buff, and then you have energy to do other things.
yeah, but still, even with Southern Eruption, you're probably gonna have quite a good amount of uh, uh, resources left to do things. What I will say, this do, what did it say? You gain energy back, right?
Exactly.
I was about to say, if you made it so you got wild back, then this is another gateway to multi-resource.
Yeah, I had considered that, but I figured, yeah, I didn't like the idea of doing that. I think that
Yeah,
energy should have some mono energy love coming
yeah.
up in the next set. But
I don't have any more in-depth things to
that's
say about
enough of
that
that
part.
one then. We shall move on to the next one, which is Blade Army, 5 decay, Linger 1. Blade Army counts up instead of down at the beginning of its turn. You may destroy it any time. When it is destroyed, summon Blade Husks equal to its Linger value with countdown 1 on random tiles on your side.
Yeah, I did read your whole explanation below when it comes to you can save up a counter play for it, like fun to search and such. Uh, but I'm just feeling. I think when it comes to balance, it's probably balanced, but I don't really like it because you cannot interact with it.
Yeah,
It
you
really
need
asks
anti-linger scrolls, really.
yeah, it really asks you to have anti-linger, and I am not too big of a fan of that. I want lingers to generally leave you some sort of way to interact with it, or it will just go out after some time. This will just be there, and you can do nothing about it, and I'm not so much of a fan of it.
No, perfectly fair to
But the
that.
idea is pretty cool in of itself. I like it.
Initially, it was actually 4 decay, but I realized, okay, that's a bit too powerful.
But I like the idea of counting it up, and the more countdown it has, you can activate it and get stuff. I like that part.
Alright, we're moving on then to my growth scroll, which is Dryadic Boon. It's a 1 growth enchantment, which has 2 effects. It has a pillage effect, which says return the enchanted unit to controller's hand. So that is whatever is enchanted with Dryadic Boon. And it has a
Mhm.
second effect, which says enchanted unit deals an additional 2 damage to enchanted units.
Yeah, this one is really cool. I like this one. Uh, the because first of all, I like cards like this that is flexible. You can use it on yourself or you can use it on opponent. So you make
Exactly.
so you push back the opponent with a pillage if he cannot like avoid attacking the idol. So
Exactly.
that's a cool way to use it, and it also do that. Like I would probably because it cost one after all. It's a little bit like a champion ring for one cost, so I would maybe make it creatures instead of units with the 2 damage, just to give it some sort of limitation there.
Yeah, that
But
might work well, since it is growth as well.
otherwise, I do. I really like this card. I like the flexibility and the double-edged sword in it.
Yeah, this is basically my idea of an anti-enchantment scroll for growth. Because
Yeah.
if your opponent unit is a bunch of enchantments, You put this on them, and they run into an idol, and then all those enchantments disappear. Or you can attack into them and maybe kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to the final one, and I think we've kind of discussed this one slightly. It is Battlefield Scavenging, 3 order, and it has the main effect, which is whenever a friendly enchanted creature is destroyed, its last enchantment is put on a random adjacent creature. So that's the Eternal Sword effect. But if you have Dominion, it becomes all enchantments transfer instead of just the last.
Yes. This one, I guess I like it. It helps. It definitely helps with enchantment, just like how Mystic helps for the Groves enchantment. Uh, how balanced is this? That is what I'm kind of question.
Yeah, I kind of
Yeah,
considered removing the Dominion bit.
the Dominion bit. I think the Dominion bit is sort of fine. To put it like this, if Dominion was not Dominion, but the Dominion was like it was for all enchantments all the time, this would definitely be a 5 or 6 cost
Yeah,
card. With Dominion, is it worth 3? Maybe. The whole idea itself, it's kind of fine. What I am curious about, if one would, and you cannot answer this, because it's a mechanical thing, but it's the first thing I will test with this card if it gets to the game. Is that what happens with Divine Mark? Does that move to the next
yeah,
adjacent? Because that if Divine Mark moves the next creature, that is pretty powerhouse.
that is pretty powerful. I mean,
So
presumably it would, just purely wording wise. But
yes, I'm just saying, Divine Mark itself might push this to one more resource in balance. Um, but otherwise, I think it's fine. It's a neat idea. I think I said my part on that.
excellent. Then we shall move on to your cards. So I'll be giving you feedback on these. And
Hmm.
again, I'll have to remove all the cameras. I should have done this in advance. All right. So we have Conductor. Why don't you go ahead and describe that first for me?
Yeah, I guess first of all, I had like a massive problem figuring out what I wanted to do with growth and energy. Yeah. For energy here, I got this conductor. It's an enchantment. All magic damage increase enchanted unit attack equal to the damage dealt. Last until end of next attack. I've I realized that I should maybe have been a bit more specific with the last. That it's not the enchantment that lasts; it's the attack bonus that lasts
Oh,
until the
okay.
end of attack. So I typed that on the scrolls guide. I didn't be asked to do the whole recard. Uh, so
Okay.
essentially, what they do, for example, is if you enchant something with this, and you do like a burn, that unit will get a free attack until he attacks next time, and then the
Yeah,
free attack go away. So
it's
you can
fairly
either do
easy.
like you can either do that with a burn, or you can do like some massive thing with a thunder surge if you want.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you put this on something, you do a Thunder Surge, and because that deals 2 magic damage to a bunch of things. So it could easily get up to 10 attack if you hit 5 targets.
Yeah, I'm just questioning if you're gonna do like this and a thunder surge, whatever you are buffing with like 11 more attack, it feels like you're overkilling with the
I mean,
thunder surge as well. But
yeah, I guess it's a way to kind of. That's the thing. You VD something, and then you have enough attack to take out an idol. So it's a great snipe enchantment.
indeed, like to be fair, I myself is not a massive fan of this card. My original thought was a sort of card that absorbed magic damage, like it's why it was conductor. Like adjacent units that gets magic damage goes to this guy instead. But I didn't really figure out a good way to do the whole thing that was useful, so it just became this, and yeah, it's good enough.
It
But
seems pretty neat, actually. I mean, the way you're talking about it, you could say all connected units. Okay, magic damage dealt to connected units are instead dealt to this unit.
yeah, but I'm just feeling, well, where when is that card actually gonna be useful?
I mean, only if you're playing against energy and they play at public search. That's
Yeah,
basically it.
it's something like that. I feel like no, I don't want to put in a card that's like never useful. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to contest with that.
Alright, well, I think it's interesting, but let's move on to the next one, Soul Ritual. It's a 5 decay spell Linger 3 that says when a unit attack, it is destroyed afterwards. All units destroyed this way returns to the hand from the discard pile when Soul Ritual ends. So any
Yeah.
quick comments on that before I give you my
Uh,
view?
yeah, this is the one I liked the most from my own ideas. I am not sure actually when you're supposed to play this, but that's sort of what intrigues me. Uh, it do what it says, that your units will be destroyed after they attack, but you will draw them back again as soon as this ends.
And I mean, the thing is, a lot of decay relies on tokens, so that's what I'm kind of thinking about. If you do an Necrogeddon, you don't really benefit at all from this, unless you
Well, I,
want
I
those
would
husks to be
suggest you
destroyed.
don't do Necrogeddon with this. That's an awful combo.
But I mean, unless you want them to die, because then they would double trigger the Watcher. So you do a Necrogeddon, that trigger all the Watcher stuff. They attack into the idols, and they keep triggering the Watcher. That becomes quite powerful. So I mean, it could even work
Uh,
with that, because
how would they keep triggering the Watcher? Like
because
they are not
they
respawned.
well, when a unit attack, it is destroyed afterwards. So a husk runs
Yes.
forward, it destroys itself after attacking, and that
Yeah.
triggers the Watcher.
Oh yeah, you can double trigger it. That's
Exactly.
sort of
So
cool.
basically it says if you do a Necrogeddon, each creature adjacent to a Watcher gets unstable to a random idol. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
it is pretty powerful.
if you think you have a win with that, you can do that, but you're gonna lose all those
I mean,
all,
true.
all, all
But
those husks
I like
after.
cards that can create situations like that. Like, for example, you can use Grizzly Graft on a creature next to a Watcher to kind of trigger that.
Yeah.
And generally, I try to win my games using that. Because you do a risky necro play. They only have like a couple of idols left, up to 3 damage. And I just, place a creature that is about to attack anyway, next to a Watcher, use Grizzly Graft, and that isn't very effective, but it can be those 4 idol damage you need.
Yeah, well, those are the best kinds of win. Like, honestly, when it comes to this card, I was thinking more of it when I started to think like what situation do you want to use this, and I felt like Decay overall is often a rather slow-paced faction. So you probably would benefit this in a sort of comeback thing, like making sure that the opponent is losing board presence overall as time goes on, while you
Yep.
keep on gaining more board presence, because you're probably gonna do less attacks than the opponent will do. Uh,
Well,
sort of, or at least you will make the opponent not want to attack. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure actually when it's best time.
they would
I-
get back their scrolls, that's the thing, so they might not feel too worried about losing the creature that attacks.
well, if you play like late game order, sure, but other like this would probably decimate tempo order.
Or
They would
aggro
hate
growth.
it. It's like they can't put out their 4 skirmishers again. They don't have resource for that.
Yeah, it's a neat scroll. But let's move on to the next one. It's your growth enchantment, and it's called Alpha, 3 growth. And it says enchanted creature affect those with all the same subtype. Okay, so you enchant something, and every other creature with the same subtype is affected.
Yes.
Okay. When the affected creature comes into play, the enchanted creature gains +1 attack and +1 health.
Yes. So what this do, and I try to word it as accurately as possible when it comes to all same subtype, because I had this idea for this enchantment for growth. It's just that because how subtypes works in Scrolls, it was difficult to come up with a way, because I want this to affect like all rats and all wolves and so on, but because of subtypes, it's gonna affect all beasts, all humans, and so on. And I didn't really want
Yeah,
that, so I said all subtypes. Like if this only affects, like if it is a beast and a rat, it affects all beast rats. It don't affect all beasts,
okay,
just the
that makes it
humans.
more balanced, because I was thinking, wow, that's crazy powerful.
Yes, so that's why I mean all subtypes. It needs to have all the subtypes. Um, uh, and so when so probably I think where you're probably gonna have most use of this maybe is from well, possibly wolves, because you can summon quite a lot of wolves, but also probably kinfolks, as there's a lot of kinfolks in
Yeah,
Dexter.
like a human kinfolk, that could work, because you have a kinfolk for pretty much every role almost.
And this definitely won't work very well with like Rat King. Rat King won't buff anything up with this, except if you're gonna play more rats. And I'm not sure what kind of rat you want to keep on buffing up, but that's
Well, it's an
another.
interesting idea, I think.
I actually had a real hard time finding a name for this, because first was like pack leader, but I mean, not everything is actually a pack. So
Yeah,
so I was like, you know what, alpha. Let's call this is the alpha guy.
I do like though that you veered away from the wolf packs things. Like I've seen probably 20% of all the submissions are wolf related stuff. And that
Oh
got a
yeah,
bit tiring when I went through them all.
there's a
But let's
lot.
move on to the last one of your enchantments
Mhm.
before we move on to the picks. And that is an order spell, military drill, and it says soldiers and knights gain 1 armor for each unit behind them in the same row. And they get +1 attack for each unit in front of them on the same row until the start of your next turn.
Yes, so one
Yeah,
round actually.
so it's a very simple spell actually, but yeah, I feel like this is very. It makes sense. Like thematically, it is also making use of kind of how much is on each row, which I don't think anything has made use of yet. Well, there is that lingering spell for knights.
Well, yeah, we have that, and we have wing shield, for
Oh
example.
yeah, and wing shields. I mean,
That is.
those are mechanics I'd like to see more of in order.
So yes, like to put some conspiracy theory on this. Like this is not the first time I've suggested this, and I believe we actually kind of got Ruse afterwards. I think like was Ruse like their own take on this.
It's
I'm
an
not sure.
awful take if so.
The issue with Ruse, because Ruse is sort of similar, but the issue with Ruse is that Ruse is purely defensive, and that makes it more difficult. This is more flexible, that you can use this for just one attack also, to get some attack in your volley before you put on the defense.
Yeah, and I like that it's
So
just 1 turn. Because it
yeah,
might be crazy to have
because
a bunch of armor for like more than 1 turn on all your stuff.
yeah, because that's what I felt with one of those where we were not gonna show that card, but I had a different card that I sort of gave to you before, and it because it was similar to this, but one of my issue were that it was linger, and I'm like, this is very imbalanced.
Yeah,
If I'm not sure. He said defense. I'm like, is that health or armor? Because if he meant armor, that's super imbalanced. Having like 2 armor for 3 turns.
yeah.
It's,
But alright, with that, we can move over to our picks. So these are scrolls that you guys have submitted. So we're going to start off with my 4 favorites.
mm-hmm.
And we'll go through them one by one as well.
Indeed.
First off is Melting Point. It's a 3 energy spell, and it says deal 6 magic damage to target unit with 0 countdown. and it has a really neat lore text. Let go your temper, let go your passion, before they take your whole. Hildegard, deceased. So I picked this. I actually was about to pick this enchantment that does this ranged attack whenever your current energy reaches 0, but I thought this was really interesting because it's a removal spell that does play around with countdown a bit, and we do have that already in energy in the form of blind rage. Only this works the other way around. You want your opponent unit to have as little countdown as possible. And the funny thing is, there's a lot of spells in energy to reduce your opponent's countdown. Like you can use Fury really advantageously in combination with this spell. You can also use Iron Whip on them, deal 1 damage to them, get them down to 0 countdown, and then deal another 6 magic damage to them with this spell. And I like that, in some cases this would be a completely dead card in your hand, because they would be at 1 countdown or 2 countdown, and you can do nothing. And yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
I was about to say, when I first saw this among a list here, I was like, dude, this is because I was like 3 cost 6 damage. I'm like, dude, that's so what? And then 0 countdown. Oh, that's quite the limitation, man. We're gonna make it 0 countdown. And the thing is, you say energy actually have quite a lot of ways, but you mentioned all two.
Yes, that is
Uh,
true.
uh,
Well, you could use Bombard if they have ranged
I was about
creatures.
to. You can use bombard, but who the hell is gonna use bombard for use this one card? I don't think that's a very efficient combo. However, I think Iron Whip is not optimal, but this definitely has a good synergy when it comes to Fury. Fury is definitely the go-to card when it comes to this one. And the question is, would it be enough to make this play like this card alone? I definitely like it. I do like it. It's it's a good kind of removal that has a good condition. It's a it's a hard condition, but
Yeah,
if you can succeed with this condition, you get quite rewarded for it. Um, is it viable? I'm not sure. There's only really 2 cards that can make this viable, and they might make it work. Like Fury is played in some like
yeah.
Gravelock states.
Yeah, I think this
So
could work really well in a Gravelock deck, because you will be using Fury a lot of times.
yes, I mean, it could definitely be viable. I can see it.
And also, there's potential with, cross-resource decks.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next one. It's a Decay Scroll that I've picked, and it's Time Bent Trinket. It's a 1 Decay enchantment, and it says, next time a spell would affect target creature, I think they mean enchanted creature, destroy Time Bent Trinket, and enchanted creature takes 1 magic damage instead. Now, I'm not entirely sure if they mean this unit, so this is only a protection for the enchanted creature, or if this would stop any spell targeting a creature.
Well, the way it says here, uh, it says I'm not. I didn't hear your whole question, but what it says is when any spell is targeted on your enchanted creature, then it takes this 1 damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I went with. I assumed that. So basically, you put this on something you don't want to die just yet. You want it to, do something. It could be a harvester at 1 countdown that you can't trigger just yet. It could be a high value unit like, I don't know, a witch doctor. So you put this on it. If they try to use a violent dispersal on it, if they try to use a flip on it, this would be removed, and the creature would be dealt 1 magic damage instead. So this was always be an enchantment that trades up, I think.
Well, I don't know. There's probably quite a few ways you can simply make this inefficient. Either you can, but before I start to sound negative on the card, I will say this was among. I like you pick this because this was among those I was considering to pick my favorite. Um, but these are the reasons I didn't pick it, because what I like with it is it's another roundabout way to give ward without giving ward, and I want to see more of those cards.
Yeah, I
I
like
don't want
conditional
just
stuff more.
I don't want just ward to be the answer to spells. I want there to be other stuff, and this is one of those. However, it's kind of a weak plating to spells. The
Like,
thing is, yes,
honestly, I think it'd be fine without the take one magic damage thing.
yeah, probably. It probably be just fine without that, because it definitely helps you against spells, but you can still either you can use a very cheap spell, so to speak, that don't really care. Like you can use for order, you can use Kabonk or Decimation. That's like let's just get this out of the way.
Well,
Or
Decimation wouldn't remove
oh,
it.
okay, Decimation would not, but you can use Kabonk. Okay, that's actually true. It needs to be targeted. I didn't really think of that. That limits it a little bit, but it's definitely a big weakness is that you can still just kill it with regular damage. Um, but even so, if you use this on like a witch doctor, then definitely you limit the options how to deal with witch doctor. I can see that. So it's
Something that was mentioned in the chat is that the guy who created this said that if you put this on a unit, then the Necro, it wouldn't be affected by the Necro.
it should, because Necro is not targeted.
Yeah, but I think the way he's thinking is that if its spell's effect would affect the target creature, then the effect itself would be negated. And when you think about it like that, it might be interesting.
Yeah, but then we're gonna get into how are the rules in the game.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
that
really
makes
like
it
to
too
get into that
confounding.
discussion, but because that's a lot of issue we have in the game. Okay, if it would work the way he say, then yeah, sure, it gets some more flexibility, definitely.
But yeah, overall, I didn't like the decay scroll you've picked. I would probably have picked that one as well. But otherwise, I don't think there were that many interesting decay scrolls overall.
I think there was a lot actually. I think there was a lot of interesting decay scroll. I think decay and energy had a lot of interesting ones.
My
It was
favorites were energy and order.
order really. I felt a lot of order were okay. Order had quite some interesting ones, but many were either it was like either they were not interesting, or they didn't fit the theme, or
They were
they were like,
broken.
okay, uh, like all this. My God, so many order cards that were like direct damage, but like they are not gonna do that.
Yeah.
And others were like, these are interesting. I can agree, but A, they are not balanced, and B, they are simply not gonna happen to the game, not yet, because of like you know things like King's Peace.
Yes.
Yeah, like that, it's not gonna happen. But it's an like there was also a lot of them.
But yeah, let's move on to the next one I've picked. It is Inherited Strength. It's a 1 growth enchantment. It has Taxing 2, and it says enchanted creature gains attack equal to the resource cost this scroll was played for. And I already discussed this on I think yesterday's stream, and I really, really like this.
I need to.
You go ahead and read through it, and then give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah. And I think as soon as something like taxing, you're like, this is a really good way to use taxing. Like, dude, you're such a taxing fanboy over your own creation. It's
Well, what do you
unreal.
expect me to do? What do you expect?
I expect you to try act unbiased.
It is. I think this is a really awesome way of using it.
I need to read this a little bit. Oh yeah, this. It's very simple and straightforward. I mean, sure. It doesn't really makes me all that hype, but
You can see how it makes sense.
I mean, yes, it's balanced. It's balanced, and what it will do, it will do more. It will cost more over time, but it will also do more attack over time, which is useful. So sure.
What I like about it, it's a way to use taxing. Like, instead of just using taxing as a punishment, this kind of uses taxing as a sort of, what's the right term for this? Like a power creep mechanic within
It
each
is
game.
designed around taxing, which
Yeah,
is what I want many. It's what I've said when it comes to every time we get to this whole taxing debate on the community. I will say that I agree taxing has been misused in the game. I don't really like many cards that use. The only one I really like is Quake. I think Quake was from the get-go sort of
yeah,
a good candidate for taxing, but like Damning Curse, I don't understand why Damning Curse has taxing.
I really don't
Uh,
get that either.
wasn't you like suggesting it? Shut up.
No, I suggested only, the only thing I suggested taxing on was Quake and the cross-resource ramp spells, Dark Strike and Return to Nature.
All right, maybe it was that. I just remember you gave a list of suggestions. I thought I had some kind of memory that damn. Anyway, not gonna go too much on that, but what I will say, taxing has potential that it can be used well, and this is definitely one of those where you can use it as a way to definitely. What I will give credit this card for, this card helps you shorten the game because it will be more powerful the more late it becomes, which means you will be able to finish the game sooner if you actually ramp with it.
Yeah,
It has the possibility to go out of your resource limit. That's very possible. But it does sort of, in a way, helps you finish the game sooner because it becomes more powerful. So that I give.
exactly. And it's also like, the thing is, I think a lot of people would like a one cost plus one attack enchantment. But the problem is, it's hard to kind of make that good enough. And this is almost a way to do that. In the early game, you get that plus one attack, which can be really helpful on a Brave when you're trying to kill off these 3 health creatures. And then later on in the game, like you said, you finish off the game.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one, a final one that I've picked. It's a order spell called Adapted Tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, draw a card, probably means a scroll. Draw a scroll for each...
Everyone say card.
I know. Draw a scroll for each lingering spell in play. And it has a really cool lore as well that I want to read. A good
Okay.
strategist is always aware of his surroundings. Master the circumstances, and you will win the battle. Royal Warfare, Chapter 2.
First of all, this is overpowered. Um,
You really think
because
so?
yes, because they say draw a card for each lingering. Well, okay, wait a moment. Okay, no, I misunderstood how it worked. It's not overpowered. Uh, because yeah, but okay, it's no, it's not overpowered, but it's rather. It's honestly, it's rather dull if you ask me. I'm not sure why. I saw your stream also about this when you saw it, and you're like, this is really cool. It has interaction with lingering. I'm like, it's dull.
That's the thing,
All
though. It's cool, though.
but all it do is it draws you a card for each lingering that's in play. I mean, like, sure, but
Because the thing is, the problem with a lot of people have with lingering spells is that they have symmetrical effects in many cases, and then if you play them, you're one card short, right? So if you play a bunch of lingering spells that are symmetrical in nature, if your opponent then has like one lingering spell, and you play this, you take back that card advantage that you lost. Yeah, the lingering spell you play becomes free card-wise if you play enough of these.
well, two things about that. One, you don't get your card advantage back unless you play two. Otherwise, you're just cantripping this card.
Yeah, in the
So
ideal play, you'd have two lingering
you need
spells
to
out
have two
yourself.
lingerings, and
And ideally, your
uh,
opponent would have one as well. So you draw 3 cards ideally with this thing.
well, ideally we have like 6 lingering in the
Oh,
game.
that would.
That is ideally, but what the but and secondly, no, I don't think at all that's the issue with lingerings. The issue with lingerings is not that you get uh, behind with one card. The issue with lingerings is that more often than not they don't give good value. They don't do good stuff. Uh, there is some decks that play around that has found some ways with lingerings. they can, like the clandestine orc guard and
Yeah,
stuff.
that
They
is a good
found
one.
some ways to get some value, and they I don't think they have any big issue that it costed a card for them to use this lingering. It's more just that you need to somehow find a way to get value. Like how are you gonna get exactly value from I don't know this. I'm not gonna go too much on that, but the thing is that no, I don't feel adaptive tactics really help much with linger. I would feel like I would hesitate putting adaptive tactics in my deck because sure it might help me a little bit when it comes to getting back some cards from the lingering I played, but I need to play 2 to actually get that value. So that is a combo I need to have. It's not just simple like that. And B, it would take space in my deck that I want other stuff for. So I'm not even sure. So I'm sorry, I'm not as hyped as you when it
That
comes
is fine.
to
Because we're going to now move on to see your picks that
okay.
you've also picked from these 500-ish scrolls that the community have submitted.
I'm gonna confess, I there was some. I watched. I checked. Uh, I missed some pages because I was going through the Scrolls Guide page and Scrolls Guide stopped work, and I just couldn't be arsed. So
Alright, that's good to put out there. So this isn't a complete assessment from
yeah,
Overlord's
so
side.
I checked like 80%. I think I got through 80% or something.
Okay, well, we have here 4 scrolls. First off is Charged Attack. It's a 3 energy enchantment, and it says Enchanted unit has +2 attack for each turn since it last attacked.
And this I feel it's very simple but very cool. I actually I was intrigued. I was like I wanted to figure this out, but because and actually I think it's a little bit underpowered. It should be like 2 cost or such because it's not. You don't get this attack right away. It will build up over time, and it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing. Like
Yeah, I mean,
imagine putting this on like a Oculus cannon. It just keeps on getting attack over time, unless you're gonna do something with that thing. So
I mean,
I like the idea
if
that
you
it
put
just
this on a 2 countdown creature, it will get a +4 attack by the
yeah.
time it attacks. And I mean, when you think of it that way, it's kind of like, yeah, this could be 2 energy probably.
Yeah, but, so you cannot do any instant play with this. Like it's not a machinated or desperation where you get the attack immediately. You're gonna get it later on. So it is a risk you take with it might be removed, but it is definitely a risk where you will be heavily rewarded if you make it stick around. And you can definitely do a potion of resistance combo with this. Like there is honestly not much that deal with potion resistance. There is a lot of the game in the game that deals with potion resistance, but not a lot played.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's only really 2 things in the game that is played that deal with potion of resistance, and that is like pushback and damning curse. Everything else that deal with potion of resistance is very uncommon to see.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, the thing is, if you use a counter reduction thing on this spell, on this enchanted unit, you won't get full value. Like, if it's only been 1 turn, and then you use, like, a bombard, it only gets +2 attack. And that is pretty awful. So because of that, it might be fine at 3 energy. Because otherwise, you will get value whenever you attack. Because at 2 for 2, it's a champion ring.
Yeah, but it's a very delayed champion ring. It's the same thing. You like one cannot distress how much of a negative thing it is that you actually need to wait a turn
Yeah,
to do
there is
anything
that.
with this. That is a heavy drawback, uh, which is why I actually feel like it could be even 2. It is a 2 or 3. It's not a 1. 1 is too
Definitely not.
predictable. But I can definitely feel it's 2. But I really like it. It's simple and cool, and I like to see this in the game.
Alright. Well, let's move on to the next scroll you've picked. It's a decay scroll. Ripening Fungi. Redecay, it's an enchantment with a destruction subtype, and it says target creature with 3 health or less has its move decreased by 1. At the end of its turn, if it has 5 health or more, it is destroyed, and all surrounding creatures are poisoned. Otherwise, it gains 1 health. So, okay, this thing was written really badly. I remember this one from yesterday. And basically, the way it should be written is enchanted creature. I don't even know. But hopefully you guys get what it means. So basically, it will gain 1 health at the end of every turn. If
I can summarize.
you summarize it up.
I'm just typing "Happy New Day" everywhere. And what it says. Where am I? Oh my God, there. Okay, what it's saying is, well, I'm not sure this is how you would actually do the description, but this is how I'm gonna describe to the viewers what they do. You can only target something with 3 health or less, and that gets its move decreased by 1. And for every turn, its health will increase by 1, and when it reaches 5 health, it will deal poison to adjacent units. And did it say it?
It's also destroyed when it reaches 5 health or more.
However, that actually, when I think about it,
Basically,
the question is if this guy means the enchantment is destroyed or the unit is destroyed.
I thought it was balanced if the unit is destroyed. If the creature is
And
destroyed.
I think that was my initial thought as well. So we're gonna roll with that. That it's the unit who is destroyed with this, and not the enchantment. Because when you say enchantment, you usually say like removed or something. Destroyed is more for the units. So yeah, I liked it because it has a good limitation that you can only target 3 health. Like you can't do this on something very healthy, and many things with 4+ health are the important guys. So what this really do is this target for most part something unimportant or less important at least, and then you can do some kind of combos. You were talking before in your stream in oh my god, what's it called? Regenerator.
Or Fungify.
Yeah, but that's is a bit overkill. I would probably do Regenerator just to get also that extra idle damage. But you can do like Regenerator to get that extra health, and then you have this. You remove and you do this poison. I think this is one of those key components a poison deck sort of needs right now.
Yes, they need mass poison, I think.
Poison. They need something more mass poison than just Pesty Simulator, because Pesty Simulator is a bit slow. And also hard to rely on. So they need something like this for mass poison, and they need some kinda semi way to remove stuff and not just to rely on damning curse. So that I also like for this. So I overall I really like how it doesn't do anything. Well, it actually do some new things that I guess is cool with the whole increased health and
Yeah,
increased
so that's pretty cool.
But what I mostly like with this very much fill a gap I feel that the poison decks very much need. So it's pretty much for that reason I like it so much.
Alright. I posted an improved description of it, which would be can only enchant a creature with 3 health or less. Enchanted creature gains +1 health at the end of each of its turns and has 0 move. When enchanted creature has 5 health or more, it is destroyed and adjacent creatures are poisoned. There you go, much cleaner. But let's move on to the growth scroll you have picked. It is a 5-cost spell, Lingering, with Linger 4, that's called Uncharted Lands. And it says, whenever you sacrifice for growth, draw a scroll.
Yes. First of all, this is a little bit unbalanced and should be Linger 2 or maybe 3 to start it off with. Why I like this? I like this because pretty much all factions, as chat already like pointed out, yes, this is Grove's imperial
Pretty much. I
resource.
think I said that
But
yesterday as well on the stream.
yeah, but the thing is that they deserve to have one. Every other faction pretty much have one. Uh, Decay has Halls of Umlazo, which is sort of their imperial. Order obviously have imperial, and even though it's sort of not sure one can call it imperial. It's meant. Even the developers have said like Power Trip are meant to be energy sort of imperial card. And if one gonna argue like, well, Growth has fertile soil. Well, the thing is, fertile soil sort of fills this role of that how to speak. They help to get more card draw that also all other factions sort of have. Like for Order probably has one of the worst, but still it's there, and that is Heritage. They got the Heritage, and Energy got the Clock Library. And Decay got, I'm not sure which one of these are like the contender for that, if it is the Oblivion Seeker or the Blight Seed. But Oblivion Seeker is definitely the popular one. Blight Seed not as popular, but it still fulfills kind of that role. And but they don't have really one. What Imperial do, Imperial is, it doesn't help you to reach the late game. It is the bridge to the late game.
Exactly.
It is what links you go. That's sort of what defines you to go from the mid game to the late game. And Growth don't really have that. They use a lot of smaller things. They use these waiters and the fertile soil, which Order also can do. They can use power bound and they use heritage and and royal inspiration to just put this all together to get to the late game. But I think Growth deserve one that is like their kind of imperial, and I like this one because this one is not like the rest. And it's simple, and I say it's balanced if you reduce the linger to even like just 2 is actually enough, because then maybe 3.
I think 3 would be a good sweet spot for it.
Yeah, because you have to consider like, sure, you get resource and you get an extra card for it, but you are it's kind of, not to make a pun out of it, but you are sacrificing your sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, you are using, instead of getting more cards from the sacrifice, you're using the sacrifice to get more resources, and just getting 1 card additional to the one you get by default.
I mean, the thing is, you might end up in a situation where your hand is kind of empty, and then you need to sack the cards, and then you get nothing from this spell.
Yeah, so so that is a drawback one has to consider. But unlike like Imperial Resource, this costs 5 and should cost 5. If this costs like 7, then Growth don't really have much use of it.
Yeah.
So 5 is a good spot. I just think this fills a gap Growth lacks. Growth lacks this in their deck, and I think it deserves to be there with them.
All right. Well, let's move on to the other one then. The remaining last pick, which is also a lingering spell. It's a 3-cost order spell called Ambush, and it has the following effect. Enemy enchantments have no effect.
This one, I'm not so sure if it should be. I'm not convinced if it actually should be lingering. If it, I feel like just being 1 round could be enough for it. But sure, lingering 2, at least be 2. 3 would be too much.
I think 2 is a good point, because, I mean, yes, you can use this instantly to reduce the attack and health of an opponent unit. But I don't know, like, there's probably a lot of situations that you've thought of where you can use this.
And also, I'm feeling like maybe it should be 4 cost and not necessarily be 3, because no, it doesn't remove the enchantment, but this is very flexible. You are maybe not always gonna, like, first of all, I guess if it's gonna be lingering as it will, at least do it double sword, because this is one of those things that are okay to be double sword. Have it be both sides. This is just enemy. Have it be that it affects your side as well,
Yeah, I think it'd be
because
fine as that.
that is a fair double sword. Uh, because that you can very much do your deck around. That's okay. Also, your own enchantments won't go away. It will come back later. But this is definitely good. It's very flexible in many ways. You can deal with this to just ignore that potion of resistance, or make sure that it doesn't remove poison, but it removes the infectious blight effect, for example. So the infectious blight don't jump. Uh, and for growth, it removes probably, so if you have issue with the health stack from the stag card or whatever, you can reduce that down so you can take them out and so on. So it's a very just general flexible card that can be good to have in hand, and I don't think it's necessarily overpowered if you just tweak it a little bit. Like I'm not sure if it should be linger 2 maybe, but in that case maybe do it 4 cost or
The
more.
thing
But
is, you mentioned you could reduce like health stacking. This would hard counter the Scum Mystic deck, like completely. It would instantly be destroyed if you play this, I think, and
yeah,
that is interesting.
well, yeah, but it's it's I don't really take that into consideration. Like when it's such a niche deck, honestly. Um, and it should be, and even if Mystic Punch was played a lot and people gonna go with the argument, well, you can use ambush. Like, dude, not every faction has ambush, okay? Like,
Exactly.
that's not really a good reasoning around it. So I don't really think around those terms. But, yeah,
But yeah, I mean,
it's true what you say. It's true what you say.
but I think that it's interesting because you can use this and then like kill off even units of your own that have infectious blight or brain lice, and then where you're kind of negating the benefit that it would give to your opponent. Or,
Yeah.
like you said, you can temporarily make a super mega buffed opponent unit into an easier target to kill. And,
Yes.
that's really interesting. So because of that, it would be fine to be symmetrical. And then you could probably keep it as it is at 3 order.
Even then, it's kinda punishing thing to just say I'm gonna ignore all you have worked for so far. So I'm not sure it should remain free. It might should be 4, but that's a discussion for the future in that case.
I mean, when you think about how it would affect the different resource types, it wouldn't actually affect energy that much.
Well, mm, I'm not so sure about the energy use. Actually, more enchantments than one think of. Like they use machinated and overdrive and potion of resistance, and you can definitely find some time when you want to use this to just make sure that it's just to make sure that your this is around where, like, this would for example mean that for 2 rounds they will never be able to use machinated because it's
That
not
is
gonna
true.
have
You
any
could use it as
effect.
a preventive
Yeah,
spell.
I mean, like, even for energy, they use more enchantment than one might think.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. And I think that with that, we have reached the end of the show.
Yay!
So, we shall call it a day, I think.
Yeah! Hooray!
And there won't be a ScrollsTalks next week because it will be on this Sunday.
No! Oh, yeah, wait.
Exactly.
Yay!
Don't say no to that. And essentially, we'll probably be discussing not much really. There's probably not much going to happen between today and Sunday. But hopefully, I'll see you guys then.
Maybe we're gonna have a massive population boom from the
Oh
whole
yeah,
London, and then
perhaps
we
we
can
will.
discuss about that. We're like, dude, they're so quick to find matches.
ScrollsTalks 4 will be about Noobageddon, pretty much.
Nubageddon.
But yeah, I also did something I forgot to mention. I've done a bunch of video reviews of all these submissions, all 500 of them, more or less. I probably missed out on 5%. And
Yeah,
if
you
you
missed
guys,
my part.
yeah, but we covered them today.
That's very
That's
true.
fine. So if you guys want to watch those things, then head over to my highlights and have a look there. If you like the show, follow maybe, follow me on Twitter, all that. I don't actually use my Twitter, but I'm putting it out there. And do you, the Overlord, have anything you would like to plug?
Uh, well, I like to plug all grandmas out there. They are always great company to have around. Like we say things like "grab your grandma, come," but people don't do it. They just
They
leave
don't.
the grandmas in their older homes and let them rot there. Don't do that. They are
Don't let them
great to
rot.
have. They're great to have around. Oh, hooray for all grandpas. We need to put them here and watch scrolls together. They're going to enjoy
Definitely.
they won't, but they might enjoy like some Wii games. I don't know why old people like Wii games, but they do.
It's because they're so
So
easy to play. You just wave it around. And
probably.
yeah. And also, guys, don't forget your grandpas either. They're also welcome to watch this Scrolls Talks podcast.
Well, certain grandpas can be quite grumpy. They're like,
They
"Why are
can.
you not in the military yet?" Like, dude, it's times are changing.
You need to fight off the Russians.
Well, that is that is closer to truth than I want it to be.
Yeah, unfortunately. But with that, it's bye.